The massive crystalline chamber of the Galactic Council gleamed with the light of 1,000 stars. Councillor Vrax's iridescent skin rippled with boredom as he flicked through holographic representations of newly discovered worlds. His 4 upper appendages moved in practiced synchronicity, dismissing system after system. Sector 7829, Quadrant 6, third planet from unremarkable G-type star, droned the Council's evaluation system. Nitrogen-oxygen atmosphere, carbon-based life forms, nuclear capabilities but limited to near-orbit space travel. Vrax didn't even bother examining the detailed specifications. Class 4 developing species, standard monitoring protocols. His voice echoed through the chamber with the weight of 10,000 years of authority. Next. In the observation gallery, Dr. Xylax's heart sank. He had been hoping for something interesting after 3 cycles of mind-numbing administrative assignments. His recent paper on nonlinear evolutionary paths had been publicly ridiculed by the academic assembly, and now he was being punished with the most menial assignments. Dr. Xylax, his supervisor, called, mandibles clicking with poorly hidden amusement. Congratulations, you've been assigned primary monitoring duty for this new Class 4 discovery. The planet's natives call it Earth. The other xenobiologists tittered. A Class 4 assignment was where careers went to die. I'll prepare for immediate departure, Xylax responded, maintaining his dignity despite the humiliation. His supervision pod would be stationed in Earth orbit for at least 2 standard cycles, almost 8 Earth years. 8 years of watching primitive bipeds struggle with their own atmosphere. 3 weeks later, Xylax's observation pod settled into a high orbit above Earth, carefully cloaked from the planet's primitive detection systems. The standard protocols were clear: observe, catalog, and file quarterly reports, noting any significant developments. Though for Class 4 species, significant typically meant, have they destroyed themselves yet? His first observation shift left him perplexed. Within a 24-hour period, he witnessed humans engaging in behaviors that contradicted all standard development models. In one hemisphere, they waged war with primitive but devastating weapons. In another, they created art of surprising complexity. Some destroyed natural ecosystems, while others worked feverishly to preserve them. They saved lives with remarkable medical procedures in gleaming facilities, while others died of curable ailments in neighboring regions. Completely irrational resource allocation, he noted in his official log, consistent with Class 4 expected behavior patterns. But something about them nagged at him. During his 3rd week of observation, he focused his sensors on a small educational facility in a region called Finland. A young human, barely into its first decade of life, was solving mathematical puzzles on a digital device. Xylax sat upright in his monitoring chair. The equations were remarkably similar to 7th-level theoretical problems from his own academic training. How was this possible? The Council's model suggested humans were at least 3 evolutionary stages away from comprehending such concepts. Curious, he expanded his observation parameters beyond the standard protocols. Over the next month, he documented dozens of similar anomalies. Innovation emerging from unexpected places, theoretical leaps made without the foundation the Council deemed necessary, and most peculiarly, regular instances of what the humans called intuition. Correct conclusions reached without logical progression. Supplemental observation log. Personal notes he recorded after his first Earth month. Standard classification metrics may be insufficient for this species. Their development appears nonlinear, with simultaneous advancement and regression across different domains. Most intriguingly, they seem to thrive on their contradictions rather than resolve them. He knew such notes would be dismissed as anthropological contamination, becoming too attached to a research subject. But as he watched a human child staring at the stars with wonder, asking questions no child of his species would think to ask, Xylax couldn't help but wonder if the mighty Galactic Council had missed something important about these supposedly unremarkable beings. 3 Earth months into his assignment, Dr. Xylax had established a routine that bordered on the tolerable. His mornings began with global news analysis, afternoons with focused observations of scientific or cultural significance, and evenings with report compilation. The quarterly evaluation from Central Command had been terse. Standard monitoring continues. No notable deviations. Xylax had omitted his personal observations about human ingenuity from the official reports. Better to keep those to himself until he had more evidence. The alert came during his rest cycle. A piercing tone from his long-range sensors jolted him awake. Perimeter disturbance detected. Anomalous object entering monitoring zone. Xylax rushed to his console, manipulating the holographic controls with practiced precision. The data materialized before him. A massive asteroid, approximately 12 kilometers in diameter, had been knocked from its stable orbit in the Kuiper Belt by a passing stellar body. Its new trajectory led directly to Earth, with impact projected in 47 Earth days. His first thought wasn't professional but personal. Asterisk, the humans wouldn't survive this asterisk. His second thought was the proper protocol response. Asterisk Regulation 7293B specifically prohibits intervention in Class 4 extinction events. Asterisk. Computer, initiate standard non-interference protocol and prepare observation parameters for extinction-level event documentation. He said, the words feeling like ash in his mouth. Protocol initiated. Observation parameters established. The system responded. Xylax slumped in his chair. Nearly 8 billion sentient beings would perish, and the Council would consider it merely an expected development in the natural selection of species unworthy of galactic citizenship. For the next 3 days, he watched Earth with a growing sense of dread, waiting for their primitive detection systems to identify the threat. When they finally did, he prepared himself for the panic, the chaos, the breakdown of social order that the Council models predicted. They've detected it, he noted in his personal log. Impact estimation remarkably accurate for their technology level. Interesting that their first public announcement included both the threat assessment and a call for international cooperation. Council models predicted 72% probability of information suppression. What happened next defied every prediction in the xenosociological database. Nations that had been threatening each other with annihilation just weeks earlier established emergency communication channels. Scientific data flowed freely across borders. Military assets were redirected to civil defense and potential evacuation planning. Day 7 of crisis response, Xylax recorded, his voice tight with unprofessional excitement. The humans have established a unified response consortium called Project Bulwark. Representatives from 194 political entities gathered in their United Nations and emerged with a comprehensive plan after just 4 hours of deliberation. Statistical probability of such rapid consensus among previously hostile factions, less than 0.02%. He transmitted an urgent update to Central Command, highlighting the unprecedented cooperation. The response was immediate and dismissive. Observation bias noted. Terminal cooperation in face of extinction is within parameters for semi-rational species. Continue standard protocols. Xylax nearly crashed his observation ship rushing to document what happened next. Human scientists from across the planet shared their research openly, building on each other's work with astonishing speed. Space agencies pooled resources. Private companies redirected manufacturing capabilities. They're actually attempting to deflect it, he reported, incredulous, utilizing principles similar to the Thorin gravitational manipulation theorem, but with, wait, that can't be right. He checked his readings again. The humans were using mathematical approaches the Council had abandoned millennia ago as mathematically elegant but practically inefficient. Yet somehow, their calculations suggested a possible success scenario. When the Central Command acknowledged his report, the response was colder than usual, continued anthropological contamination evident in reporting tone. Reminder: Class 4 species lack the foundational understanding to successfully implement asteroid deflection. Outcome prediction: failure. Prepare documentation protocols for extinction event. Xylax closed the communication channel and turned back to his monitors. On the screens, he watched as humanity prepared to fight for its survival with tools the galaxy's oldest civilizations had deemed insufficient. For the first time in his career, he found himself hoping the Council was wrong. "Good luck," he whispered to the blue planet below, a phrase that would have earned him immediate recall for emotional compromise. Project Bulwark consumed Earth's resources and attention with remarkable efficiency. Xylax had never witnessed anything like it in his entire scientific career. Where the Council's unified species took decades to reach consensus on crisis response, humans moved with desperate, inspired speed. From his observation pod, Xylax watched as mining equipment was hastily retrofitted into space-worthy vehicles. Military missiles, originally designed to destroy each other, were repurposed for civilian rescue and potential evacuation. Scientists across the globe collaborated through primitive digital networks, building on each other's ideas in real time. Day 15 of crisis response, Xylax recorded. The humans have developed a viable theoretical framework for asteroid deflection based on a combination of kinetic impactors and gravity tractors. Most remarkable is their use of the harmonic resonance equations, which the Council abandoned during the Third Galactic expansion as elegant but impractical. Their implementation includes variables our own scientists never considered. He hesitated before adding, "I find myself questioning whether the Council's evaluation metrics for species development might be fundamentally flawed." Central Command's response was immediate. Transmit complete human deflection plan for analysis. When Xylax complied, the evaluation returned within hours. Analysis complete. Human plan given 0.037% probability of success. Continue extinction event documentation protocol. Project Bulwark entered its implementation phase with 22 days remaining before impact. Launch facilities across the planet operated continuously. Space agencies that had been competitors now shared launch platforms, tracking systems, and engineering expertise. Most fascinating development today, Xylax noted in his personal log. A 13-year-old human in what they call California suggested a modification to the deflection calculations based on a musical pattern recognition algorithm. The lead scientists actually implemented it, improving efficiency by 4.7%. The Council would never consider input from an untrained juvenile. As the first wave of deflection craft reached the asteroid, Xylax maintained continuous observation, hardly sleeping. The humans had positioned a network of primitive but functional satellites to monitor the operation, unaware that an alien scientist watched alongside them, his hearts racing with unprofessional hope. The kinetic impactors struck first, precisely as planned. Then the gravity tractors moved into position, using the asteroid's natural harmonics to gradually shift its trajectory. Minute by minute, degree by decimal degree, the massive rock began to respond. "It's working," Xylax whispered, then immediately checked to ensure his transmission was off. Such a statement would be considered complete anthropological contamination. When the final calculations confirmed the asteroid would miss Earth by a margin of just under 20,000 kilometers, Xylax found himself standing in his observation pod, all 6 limbs raised in a gesture of celebration his species reserved for the most significant life events. Central Command's message was terse. Unexpected outcome noted. Recalibration of species assessment metrics required. Continue observation with enhanced parameters. What happened next captured Xylax's attention even more than the technical achievement. Earth erupted in celebration. Humans gathered in public spaces, embracing strangers, creating spontaneous music, sharing food and drink. Prayer houses of countless different beliefs held services side by side. Nations that had been enemies declared temporary peace accords. The collective emotional response appears to strengthen rather than deplete their social structures, Xylax noted, fascinated. Unlike the achievement satisfaction protocol of unified galactic species, human celebration incorporates physical contact, auditory stimulation at volumes that should be distressing, and the deliberate introduction of mind-altering substances. Yet the outcome appears to be enhanced social cohesion. Driven by scientific curiosity and something else he couldn't quite name, Xilax made a decision that violated at least 3 council protocols. He secretly compiled recordings of human celebration music, art, and dance, then transmitted them to his contact at the Cultural Preservation Archive on his homeworld. 6 days later, he received an encrypted message. These musical patterns have spread through the youth centers. The elders have banned public performance, claiming neural disruption, but private sharing continues. What is this response the humans call joy? Send more. Xilax was formulating his reply when an alert flashed across his console. An unauthorized ship had entered Earth's solar system, a council investigative vessel. His observation assignment was being superseded. Sliding into his command chair, Xilax quickly began backing up his personal observation logs. The council wouldn't be pleased with his conclusions, but the evidence was undeniable. Humanity had done the impossible, not through superior technology or evolutionary advantage, but through methods the galaxy's most advanced civilizations have dismissed centuries ago. The Council investigative vessel emerged from hyperspace with a flash of displaced energy that briefly outshone Earth's moon. Xilax watched with growing unease as the massive ship positioned itself in high orbit, its stealth systems ensuring no human instruments would detect the intrusion. Observation Post Sigma-7, this is Grand Observer Galactic, boomed a voice over the communication array. Prepare for immediate inspection and data transfer. Xilax straightened his uniform, trying to quell his anxiety. Grand Observer Galactic's reputation preceded him, a 7-cycle veteran of species assessment with over 300 extinction classifications to his name, and a noted disdain for primitive evolutionary branches. The docking procedure took mere minutes. When the airlock hissed open, Xilax had to crane his neck upward to meet the eyes of his superior. Galactic's 7-meter frame barely fit through the enlarged entry portal, his exoskeleton gleaming with the ceremonial markings of the Council's highest scientific authority. Observer Xilax. Galactic rumbled, compound eyes scanning the modest observation post. Your reports have caused quite a disturbance. The Council finds your assessment of human capabilities statistically anomalous. The data speaks for itself, Grand Observer, Xilax replied, gesturing toward his monitoring station. Humanity's response to the extinction threat was a statistical outlier. Galactic interrupted, mandibles clicking with dismissal. Or worse, the result of observer bias. You've gone native, Xilax. Your enthusiasm for these creatures has compromised your scientific objectivity. 6 additional council scientists filed into the observation post, each carrying specialized equipment. Without asking permission, they began interfacing with Xilax's systems, downloading his observation data. The investigative team will conduct a proper assessment, Galactic announced. You will continue your standard monitoring duties but will submit all findings through me. Is that clear? Perfectly clear, Grand Observer, Xilax responded, suppressing his frustration. Over the next Earth week, the investigative team established a comprehensive surveillance network. They deployed quantum-linked probes to major population centers, scientific installations, and government facilities. They began secretly harvesting human scientific archives, expecting to find lucky guesses and evolutionary dead ends. Xilax was permitted to observe their findings but not comment on them. Each day, he watched the team's growing confusion with quiet satisfaction. These calculations for their asteroid deflection system, muttered one investigator, her cranial ridges flushed with agitation. They're using mathematical principles we abandoned during the Third Enlightenment, yet they've modified the approach in ways our scientists never considered. More concerning is their technological development pattern, added another. They implement imperfect solutions, then rapidly iterate. It's chaotic, inefficient, yet somehow effective. Galactic's irritation grew with each discovery. Their scientific method is fundamentally flawed. They should not be achieving these results with such primitive foundations. The breakthrough, or breakdown, came when the team began analyzing human entertainment. Philanix stared at the screens in genuine bewilderment. What purpose does this serve? He demanded, gesturing at a human fictional program. They expend tremendous resources creating elaborate scenarios that never occurred and cannot occur. It's delusional behavior. They call it fiction. Grand Observer, Xylax offered cautiously. It appears to serve multiple social functions. It is a waste of cognitive resources, Philanix snapped. A species focused on reality would advance much faster. Yet the data told a different story. As the investigation continued, they discovered humans had independently developed 12 different technologies the Council had declared theoretically impossible. Their approach to medicine included interventions no Council race had considered. Their art forms contained mathematical patterns that even the most advanced Council algorithms struggled to analyze. The final blow to Philanix's certainty came when the neural science team completed their analysis of human brain activity. Impossible, the lead researcher whispered, reviewing the data for the fourth time. Their neural architecture enables quantum intuitive leaps, cognitive connections without logical progression, similar to the pattern recognition structures our ancestors possessed before the Great Rationalization. Philanix's exoskeleton paled. 10,000 years ago, the Council races had engineered those traits out of themselves, deeming such unpredictable thinking too dangerous for advanced civilizations. Classify all findings as Security Level Ultra, Philanix ordered. Prepare for immediate return to Central Council. As the team scrambled to comply, Xylax quietly activated a hidden data recorder, copying the team's findings to a secure storage device. What they had discovered about humanity wasn't just surprising, it was revolutionary. And Xylax had come to believe it deserved to be preserved, regardless of what the Council decided. Philanix paused at the airlock, fixing Xylax with a penetrating stare. Observer, your assignment continues. But be warned, these humans represent an unpredictable variable. Unpredictability is the enemy of civilization. Xylax offered the formal salute. I will continue objective observation, Grand Observer. Only after Philanix's ship departed did Xylax whisper to himself, perhaps unpredictability is not the enemy of civilization, but its salvation. 3 weeks after Philanix's departure, Xylax received the encrypted Council directive. His sensory ridges flickered with alarm as he processed its contents. Observer Xylax, the Council has approved implementation of Assessment Protocol 87 Delta for Species Sol-3. You will observe and document responses to provided stimuli. Non-interference directive remains absolute. Detailed parameters follow. Xylax read the attached file with growing horror. Assessment Protocol 87 Delta, the Council's euphemism for deliberately engineered challenges designed to test a species' capabilities and limitations. In plain terms, they plan to subject humanity to a series of potential extinction events disguised as natural phenomena. This is beyond standard assessment, Xylax muttered, reviewing the 3 challenges Philanix had designed. The first would be a precisely calibrated solar flare targeting Earth's magnetic field, disrupting global communications and electrical systems. The Council models predicted societal breakdown within 3 days, with recovery taking months if it occurred at all. The second challenge would introduce a synthetic pathogen affecting staple food crops. Not immediately lethal to humans, but designed to create resource scarcity and test social cohesion under pressure. The third and most severe would create quantum-level instabilities in Earth's magnetic field, a challenge that had caused the extinction of 16 previous species in the Council's long history. At the end of the file came Philanix's personal note. These primitive bipeds have enjoyed statistical anomalies in their favor. True capability requires reproducible results. I predict complete failure for challenges 2 and 3. Xylax closed the directive and gazed at the planet below. In just months of observation, he had witnessed more innovation and adaptation than in centuries of Council history. Now humanity would face deliberately engineered threats without warning or context. The first challenge arrived 3 days later. A solar flare precisely calibrated to slip past Earth's magnetic field. Xilax watched as electrical grids failed across continents, communication systems went dark, and transportation networks ground to a halt. The Council Observation Network recorded everything. Hospital backup generators activating, emergency services deploying with paper maps and radio systems, communities establishing local support networks. What they expected to see was panic, chaos, societal breakdown. What they got was something entirely different. Day 3 of Challenge 1. Xilax recorded. Humans have established community resilience centers in 78% of affected regions. Amateur radio operators have created an improvised global communication network. Most remarkable, 17 different technological alternatives for power generation have emerged simultaneously across different regions. By day 5, most major urban centers had restored basic services. By day 7, innovative workarounds for damaged infrastructure were being shared globally through the recovering communication networks. By day 10, humans had not only adapted to the challenge, but had begun implementing preventative measures against future similar events. Challenge 1 recovery time. 86% faster than Council prediction models. Xilax noted in his official report, unable to keep a hint of satisfaction from his tone. The second challenge deployed 3 weeks later. A synthetic pathogen targeting wheat, rice, and corn. Council models predicted food riots within days, followed by hoarding, societal breakdown, and potential warfare over remaining resources. Again, humanity defied predictions. Instead of fighting over dwindling supplies, communities established shared resources. Agricultural scientists identified the pathogen with surprising speed, while farmers implemented crop rotation and isolation strategies. Urban centers converted decorative spaces to food production, utilizing vertical farming techniques the Council had never considered practical for civilian implementation. Most astonishing was humanity's lateral solution. Rather than focusing exclusively on curing the pathogen as predicted, they simultaneously developed entirely new agriculture methods, decentralized food production systems, and community seed banks with unaffected plant varieties. They're not just solving the immediate problem, Xilax reported, they're creating resilience against future threats of a similar nature. This suggests metacognitive problem-solving capabilities beyond their classification level. The Council's response was immediate. Proceed with Challenge 3. Maximum intensity. As preparations for the final challenge began, Xilax made a decision that would end his career, possibly his life. Using his knowledge of Council systems, he began subtly sabotaging the challenge parameters, leaving almost imperceptible clues in the quantum disturbance pattern that might help human scientists identify its artificial nature. If they recognize the pattern, he whispered to himself, they'll know they're not alone, and they'll know someone is testing them. When Challenge 3 activated, creating dangerous fluctuations in Earth's magnetic field, Xilax watched with both dread and hope. This test had extinguished 16 species before, yet something told him humans might approach the problem differently, not with the Council's perfect logic, but with the beautiful chaos of intuitive leaps that had served them so well before. Dr. Emma Chen stared at her computer screen, eyes burning from 20 hours without sleep. Around her, the hastily assembled quantum research team at the International Crisis Response Center worked in focused silence. Outside, aurora displays lit up skies worldwide as Earth's magnetic field continued its unprecedented fluctuations. "There's a pattern here," she murmured, tracing the waveform with her finger. "These fluctuations aren't random." Her colleague, Dr. Abioi, looked up from his own calculations. "Natural phenomena always contain patterns, Emma. That's basic chaos theory." "No," she insisted, pulling up comparative data. "Look at these solar flare events from 3 months ago and the crop blight that followed. The underlying quantum signature matches too precisely." She projected a 3-dimensional model combining all 3 events. The mathematical constants embedded in these disturbances couldn't occur naturally. They're artificial. On his observation pod, Xylax watched this exchange with a mixture of dread and pride. They'd found his clues faster than he'd dared hope. His subtle manipulation of the challenge parameters had been enough for their remarkable intuitive leaps to connect the dots. What happened next astonished even him. Rather than panicking at the realization they were being manipulated by an unknown force, the human scientists turned to the mathematical patterns themselves. Using principles the Council had abandoned as unstable, Dr. Chen's team developed detection technology based on quantum field theory to locate the source of the disturbances. If we can locate the transmission origin, she explained to global leaders in an emergency session, we can potentially neutralize it. 7 days into the third challenge, when most species would be facing extinction, humanity had not only survived but had developed technology to detect Council observation posts. Across Earth, newly constructed quantum detection arrays came online simultaneously, revealing the cloaked alien facilities that had monitored Earth for months. Xylax's communication system erupted with emergency Council transmissions. All observation posts, immediate stealth recalibration. Detection imminent. Maintain absolute non-contact protocols. But it was too late. Across the planet, humans had confirmed what some had long suspected. They were not alone in the universe, and someone was watching. What the Council never anticipated was humanity's response. There was no global panic, no religious crisis, no societal collapse. Instead, a single unified message broadcast on all frequencies in 200 languages and basic mathematical code. We know you're watching. Let's talk. The Council's emergency session lasted 3 days, the longest in 10,000 years. Xylax monitored the transmissions, watching as the mighty Galactic Council, for the first time in recorded history, found itself completely unprepared. The protocol violation is unprecedented, argued Elder Counselor Vrax. No species has ever detected observation before formal contact readiness. The greater concern, countered another, is their technological development rate. Their quantum detection systems utilize principles our scientists deemed impractical. How did they succeed where we failed? As the Council debated humanity's fate, Xylax made the decision that would define his life. He had observed humanity's remarkable resilience, their ability to unify in crisis, their intuitive problem-solving. They deserved the truth. Disabling his pod's tracking systems, Xylax piloted his vessel into Earth's atmosphere. Global defense systems immediately detected him, but made no move to attack. Another surprise that defied Council predictions of primitive aggression. The International Emergency Summit was underway in Washington, D.C., when Xylax's ship descended onto the White House lawn. Security forces surrounded the vessel, but held their fire as the airlock opened. Stepping onto Earth soil, a direct violation of at least 15 Council protocols, Xylax faced humanity's leaders. His universal translator activated as he spoke. People of Earth, I am Observer Xylax of the Galactic Council. For the past year, your planet has been under observation and assessment. The recent disasters you experienced were not natural, but tests designed to evaluate your species' capabilities and limitations. A murmur ran through the assembled leaders. None showed fear, only intense curiosity and something Xylax had come to recognize as righteous indignation. I have violated my directive of non-interference, he continued, because I can no longer participate in this moral failure. You have been judged and tested without your knowledge or consent, and yet have exceeded every expectation. Your species possesses unique cognitive abilities that the Council finds concerning. The UN Secretary-General stepped forward. Why concerning? What have we done to warrant these tests? Xylax's sensory ridges flickered with emotion. Nothing. That is precisely the point. Your only crime is thinking differently than the established galactic order. Your neural architecture enables intuitive leaps, creative problem-solving, and adaptation methods that the Council races engineered out of themselves millennia ago. deeming them too unpredictable. As his testimony spread across Earth's communication networks, humanity did not respond with the panic or warfare the Council had predicted. Instead, they adapted their understanding of reality with remarkable flexibility, incorporating the existence of alien life, and immediately began preparations for the new diplomatic reality they faced. In orbit, Council emergency containment vessels arrived to extract Xylax and implement quarantine protocols. Their urgent transmission to Central Command contained one crucial assessment. They think differently than we do, and that makes them unpredictable. Unpredictability is dangerous. Recommend immediate intervention. The Great Chamber of the Galactic Council had never witnessed such disorder. Elder races that had maintained perfect composure for millennia now spoke over one another, sensory appendages rippling with agitation. The holographic displays showed Earth from multiple angles, with real-time analysis of human responses to first contact. Order, demanded High Elder Vrax, his crystalline exoskeleton flashing warning colors. We will address this crisis with the rationality that defines our civilization. The irony of demanding rational order while visibly emotional was lost on no one present. On the central platform, Thalanic presented his emergency containment report. Observer Xylax has been extracted and placed in isolation for protocol violations. Containment vessels have established a quarantine perimeter around Sol 3. We await Council directive on species disposition. The Arcturian delegate rose. The data is clear. These humans represent an unpredictable variable in our carefully modeled galaxy. Their neural architecture enables quantum intuitive leaps without logical foundations. Such unpredictability led to the Chaos Wars before the Great Rationalization. I recommend immediate restricted classification. Restricted classification would be insufficient, countered the Rigelian ambassador. Their mathematical approaches have already yielded solutions our scientists deemed impossible. Their adaptability under pressure exceeds all known species parameters. They require quarantine until proper study can determine the extent of the threat. For 7 hours, the debate raged. Some council members called for Earth's immediate isolation as a potential threat. Others saw opportunity in human ingenuity. A radical faction even suggested humans should be invited as equals rather than subjects. The division was unprecedented in a body that had reached unanimous consensus on every major decision for 50,000 years. In the isolation chamber, Xylax faced an inquiry board. Do you understand the severity of your violations, Observer? Asked the Chief Inquisitor. I understand the severity of testing sentient beings without consent, Xylax replied calmly. I understand the moral implications of engineering extinction-level events to satisfy scientific curiosity. Most importantly, I understand that humanity deserves to know the truth about their place in the galaxy. Your emotional contamination is evident, the Inquisitor noted. However, your testimony is required for accurate species assessment. The Council has questions. When Xylax was brought before the full Council, he stood tall despite his exhaustion. For 3 hours, he fielded questions about human capabilities, social structures, and potential threat assessment. With each answer, he challenged the Council's assumptions, presenting data that contradicted their models. In conclusion, he stated, looking directly at High Elder Vrax, humanity's unpredictability is not a flaw, but an evolutionary advantage our own species sacrificed in pursuit of perfect order. Their chaos enables creativity our logic cannot replicate. Their intuitive leaps bypass centuries of methodical progression. They are not lesser beings. They are simply different, and that difference may benefit us all. After 27 hours of deliberation, the Council reached its decision. Earth was reclassified as a Class 1 anomalous species, the first such classification in 50,000 years. The diplomatic delegation prepared to deliver the Council's terms. Humanity would be granted conditional membership in the galactic community, with heavy restrictions on their development and expansion. When the delegation arrived on Earth, they expected gratitude for this honor and immediate acceptance of the Council's generous terms. What they encountered instead was a humanity transformed by the knowledge of galactic civilization, not cowed or awed, but prepared. In the UN headquarters, now expanded to accommodate alien physiologies, the human negotiation team received the Council's terms with polite attention. Then Dr. Emma Chen, appointed lead negotiator, responded. "We appreciate the Council's offer of conditional membership," she began, her voice steady. "However, we find several provisions problematic. Restrictions on our technological development appear designed to prevent innovation rather than ensure safety. Limitations on space exploration conflict with our species' fundamental drive to explore, and the classification of humans as anomalous suggests a fundamental misunderstanding of cognitive diversity's value." The delegation leader's sensory ridges pulsed with surprise. "These terms are non-negotiable. The Council has determined. We understand your concern about our unpredictability." Dr. Chen interrupted smoothly. "But that's precisely why partnership benefits everyone more than restriction." To the delegation's shock, she activated a holographic display showing technology humans had already reverse-engineered from studying Council observation posts. Technology it had taken the Council centuries to develop. "We don't seek conflict," she continued. "We seek collaboration based on mutual respect. Our different approaches to problem-solving can complement each other, creating possibilities neither of us could achieve alone." As the negotiations stretched from days into weeks, humanity demonstrated an unexpected skill. Diplomatic flexibility backed by technological leverage. They revealed just enough of their rapid advancement to concern the Council, while consistently offering peaceful collaboration as the alternative to restriction. Xilax, formally invited by humanity to serve as an advisor to their negotiation team, watched with quiet pride. When the human delegation proposed a revolutionary new type of membership, one that acknowledged their unique development path rather than forcing conformity, he recognized the elegant solution no Council race would have considered. "We don't want special treatment," the Secretary General explained to the Council representatives. "We want recognition that diversity of thought benefits everyone. A galaxy of identical minds will stagnate. Different perspectives are not a threat but an asset." When the historic Shanghai Accords were finally signed, establishing unprecedented protocols for human Council integration, Xilax knew he was witnessing the beginning of a new era in galactic history. Humanity had accomplished something no species had done in the Council's million-year history. They had changed the rules. One solar year after first contact, Earth had transformed from an isolated world to the unlikely nexus of a galactic renaissance. The Shanghai Accords established unique protocols for human Council integration. Earth maintained autonomy while sharing innovations through a knowledge exchange that benefited all species. Xilax stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed Galactic Embassy in Geneva, watching humans and Council representatives move through the grand atrium below. As Earth's official ambassador to the Council, a position created specifically for him after his asylum request was granted, he had a unique perspective on this unprecedented integration. "Still surprised by how quickly we adapted?" asked Dr. Chen, joining him at the railing. "Not anymore," Xilax replied with the approximation of a human smile he had been practicing. "Though I admit the Council races continue to struggle with the pace of change." Below them, a group of Arcturian scientists huddled around a human child demonstrating a simple art project, creating patterns by dipping string in paint and pressing it to paper. The Arcturians' sensory appendages flickered with excitement as they analyzed the unpredictable fractal patterns. "It's remarkable," Dr. Chen observed. "They possess technology that can map entire star systems, yet they're fascinated by a child's art project. Because the child's creative process follows no algorithm they can predict," Xilax explained. "Council races engineered intuitive leaps out of themselves millennia ago, deeming such unpredictability too dangerous. Now they're rediscovering what they lost." What had begun as a cautious exchange of knowledge had evolved into something far more profound. Council scientists initially arrived to teach proper scientific methods, but now stayed to learn human intuitive processing, a formal curriculum developed at Oxford University that helped logical minds embrace intuitive leaps. The unprecedented hybridization of human creativity with Council's methodical approach had yielded breakthroughs in fields that had stagnated for millennia. Medical researchers combined Council's genetic precision with human lateral thinking to cure diseases thought untreatable. Engineers merged human improvisational design with Council materials science to create technologies neither could have developed alone. Not everyone embraced this new partnership. The purist faction, led by Galactic, warned that human influence threatened evolutionary perfection. Unpredictability leads to chaos, their manifesto declared. Intuition without foundation leads to collapse. Their concerns gained unexpected relevance when long-range sensors detected something approaching from beyond the galactic rim, a darkness that consumed all light, all data, all life. Initial Council analysis yielded nothing but error messages. The phenomenon defied all classification algorithms. The emergency Council session that followed was unlike any in galactic history. For the first time, human representatives participated as full members, not merely observers. The ancient defense protocols the Council had relied on for eons failed to even classify the approaching threat. As the greatest minds from 1,000 worlds debated response strategies, a human child visiting the Council chamber with her scientist parents did something unexpected. Bored by the technical discussions, she began drawing in her sketchbook. When she tugged on her mother's sleeve to show her creation, the chamber fell silent. The simple drawing, concentric circles of darkness with tendrils reaching outward, captured the essence of the threat in a way the Council's sophisticated modeling systems couldn't process. It was both scientifically inaccurate and intuitively perfect. "It's eating the light," the child explained simply. "And it's hungry." The Council's threat assessment algorithms had been designed to classify phenomena based on known parameters. The approaching darkness operated outside those parameters, rendering their perfect logic useless. But the child's intuitive understanding, free from the constraints of established theory, provided the breakthrough they needed. In the weeks that followed, human artists worked alongside Council scientists to develop new modeling systems that combined rigorous calculation with intuitive pattern recognition. What emerged was a defense strategy no single species could have devised alone, an elegant fusion of Council precision and human creativity. As Xilax oversaw the implementation of this hybrid strategy, he reflected on how far both humanity and the Council had come. Ancient races that once dismissed humans as primitive now turned to them for insights their logical approaches couldn't provide. Humans who might have feared alien contact instead embraced the opportunity to learn and contribute. "You know what I find most remarkable," Xilax said to Dr. Chen as they reviewed the defense preparations. "Not that humanity survived our tests, but that you changed us in the process." "That's what humans do," she replied with a smile. "We adapt, and we help others adapt too." As the combined fleet prepared to confront the darkness at the galaxy's edge, Xilax realized the most profound truth of all. The species dismissed as barely worth observing had become the galaxy's best hope for survival. The irrational creativity that had made humans seem primitive might be the one thing that saved them all from extinction. In the observation lounge of the flagship, Council elders stood shoulder to appendage with human leaders, watching as the innovative defense system activated. Whatever the outcome, the galaxy had already been transformed by the day Earth shattered expectations. Perhaps, Xilax mused as the fleet engaged the darkness, unpredictability isn't chaos after all. Perhaps it's simply the universe's way of ensuring we never stop growing.